isn't Game 2 a must-win for the Jazz? And I would say it is for one simple reason, Jake, because you don't want the Clippers to believe in any form or fashion that there is a slice of hope that they may win this series.
Yeah, I mean, you want to put them away. You want to break their spirit tonight, and I think the way you go about doing that is you need to make more shots early. I felt like in Game 1 it was a pretty obvious thing. We even told you, and there were a couple people tweeting at us yesterday that our predictions came true, which was, hey, the Jazz are going to come out rusty. I don't think that's going to happen in Game 2 for obvious reasons. I think they're going to come out and they're going to make a bunch of shots. And my hope for this game, if you're a Utah Jazz fan, is that you figure out a way to win this game by 10-plus points. You want to have a dominating win in Game 2, and you want to go to L.A. up 2 games, looking to split in L.A. and come back for a Game 6 to end the series. So that's the game plan. For Game 2, if the Clippers do win this game, now I think there's we have no idea how far this series is going to go, because once the Clippers figure out how to beat the Jazz one time, then I think the series is wide open. I mean, at that point, now you're talking about it truly is a game-by-game situation. But right now, Jazz are up 1-0. I would expect them to be up 2-0 after tonight. And then hopefully come next week, the Clippers are sitting at home and the Jazz are moving on to the Western Conference Finals. That's the ideal path if you're a Jazz fan.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this is I think there's a lot of belief and almost pressure on Donovan Mitchell to put up just another incredible performance. And I don't know that that's realistic. You're not going to get 45 from 45. I don't know that he's going to put up the number on his jersey again.
Right.
Like, I don't know if he's going to do that.
Right.
I think anything above 30 is absolutely meeting the bar for Donovan Mitchell. The bigger question to me is not whether Don's going to perform, because I have no doubt he's going to be there. He's going to be outstanding, as he always is. My question is, who's going to be that number 2 option? And my hope is that it is Bojan Bogdanovic. And I say it, I feel like, every time we talk about the Jazz, but Bojan Bogdanovic has to be that number 2 weapon, because when he's giving you 20, 25, 30 points, Jake, I think the Jazz are almost unbeatable.
Bojan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he allows them to find more balance in their offense. When Bojan is producing off the block, it allows Donovan Mitchell to spot up. It allows, Joe Ingles to spot up in the corner. And they get good cutting action off of that as well. And I think last night, if you watched the Suns game last night, you saw, you had Chris Paul operating on the wing a lot, and the Suns were looking to cut off of the weak side. And I think you will see that a lot tonight out of the Jazz. And I think the cool thing with the Jazz offense is that their guys are skilled enough that even if Bogey's got the ball on the block, he passes it to someone who's cutting, that cutter is still skilled enough to kick it to another guy if he has to, if the layup, if the dunk isn't there for him. And that's the beautiful thing about the Jazz offense. I felt like early in Game 1, they were settling for a lot of threes. Now, those were open threes for sure, and they should have taken them. But tonight, I would look for the Jazz to try to get into the paint early, get themselves going, see the ball go through the hole a few times, and then, let's push out to the three-point line. But come halftime, I'd expect the Jazz to be up at least, somewhere around 10 points. That's what I'd like to see out of them. And then hopefully they come out in the third quarter and they just bury the Clippers, and the fourth quarter is a throwaway quarter. I mean, that to me is what you're looking for. But to your point, that all starts with Bojan scoring early in the game and establishing himself on the block, because at that point, then you've got Morris, who's got to play a lot of defense, and it just causes issues for any team that they play.
Yeah, and I think the balance that you bring when Bogey is involved in the offense, because a lot of times it becomes Donovan and everybody else. And we saw that for long stretches the other night, but hey, Don was hot, scoring the ball, 45 points, that's great. The question that you really have to ask yourself is, what happens when it's Donovan and everybody else and the ball's not going in for Donovan? What happens when it's not 45 from 45 and you're reliant on a second, guy to step up and score? And this is really where you wonder, hey, is it Jordan Clarkson? Well, it would seem to me that Quinn Snyder doesn't trust Jordan Clarkson in the last 5 minutes of games, because a lot of times he's not out there.
Yeah.
So you know the guys that are going to be out there. Then the names in the cast are familiar, and that is Bogey, Ingles, Rudy, Donovan, and then usually Royce for defense and rebounding, or one of those guys. And the question is, who's going to step up? And I don't think there's any question. The most likely answer to that question to me is Bojan Bogdanovic.
Yeah,
I think that to me is the most likely answer there.
Yeah, I think that the obvious name that we're not talking about right now is Mike Conley. And I think if we start there, the first thing I would say on that is I don't think that the Jazz have any incentive to play him in Game 2. You're up 1-0. You're at home. You would expect to win this game even without him. So my feeling is he won't play again tonight. So yeah, with that in mind, who's the second guy? Yeah, I would hope to see Donovan around 30 points, and then I'd love to see, and again, not to keep going back to the Suns, but they are notorious for having balanced scoring throughout their starting five. So I'd love to see Don at 30. I'd love to see Bogey in the low 20s. I'd love to see Joe Ingles around that 15 to 17 point mark. Yeah. And hopefully that's 3 or 4 threes mixed into that. I'd love to see Rudy around 20 points, but if that's the case, again, like I always tell you guys, if he's at 20 points, that means you didn't shoot the 3-ball well. So it's kind of this give and take. But again, to win the game, Don's got to have 30, Joe's got to have 15 to 20, Bogey's got to have 20, and then hopefully out of guys like Royce, you're getting 10 to 12 points. And if that happens, this Jazz team will be really difficult to beat.
Yeah, and I think your point is well taken on Conley. I mean, I'm just assuming he's not going to play until they lose a game.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would. I mean, for me, let's be honest, and we're going to talk about the Suns in a minute, but let's be honest. We're headed for a collision course between the Suns and the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
I think that is very clear until the Clippers get into this series, because I think that the LA Clippers are still a very good team, and it's a little shocking that so many pundits and Jazz fans have written the Clippers off in this series. It's one game that you would have expected the Jazz to win, by the way. This is a series that I have no doubt is going to be a 6 or 7 game series. And if it goes 7, I don't know how you favor the Jazz over the Clippers in a 7-game series. But all of that to say, I'm not suiting up Mike Conley until the Clippers win a game. And if you sweep the Clippers, great. Mike Conley got the whole series off, which is exactly what you need, because they don't win a championship without Mike Conley. They don't beat the Phoenix Suns without Mike Conley. They do not beat what I think is probably going to be the Brooklyn Nets without Mike Conley. Yeah. And I don't mean to overstate his value to this team, but you saw very clearly that Donovan Mitchell took that game over, and I think a lot of that, Jake, is instinctual because and to be gentle, I don't think he believes a whole lot in what's on the floor with him. Meaning that when the game's on the line and it's crunch time and you're down 3 or up 3, give me the ball because I'm giving us the best chance to score a bucket.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that is. I mean, you wouldn't expect anything else from Donovan Mitchell or any player of his stature in the league, right? I mean, you want them to, like, let me put it this way. You would have a problem. You would have concern. It would be an issue if Donovan Mitchell didn't want the ball in the biggest moments. But I think to your point, if you're Donovan Mitchell and you're looking across the court here and you're looking at this and you're saying, wow, they've got Paul George and Kawhi and like they got all these superstars. Like, that'd be awesome to have those guys on my team. But the fact is that I still look at what he's got to work with, and you can't deny that he has some of the best 3-point shooting in the league.
Yes.
And so if I'm Donovan Mitchell, I'm sitting here saying, okay, I can work with this. I mean, let's be honest, this is the LeBron James formula, right? This is, hey, give me the ball, let me operate, and when I need you to make a shot, make the damn shot. And that's why we say, hey, yes, it does become Don and everybody else. Hey, yes, they do live and die on the 3. But, man, when it's working, dude, they are tough to beat.
And by the way, I think a lot of people feel like it's a slight or that we're taking a shot at the Jazz when we say Don and everybody else. That's not necessarily a bad thing. No. Because if you look at it, I think the LeBron comparison is actually really good for once out of you. Congratulations. No, I'm kidding. But I think the LeBron comparison is actually really good because I think when you look back at LeBron's career, especially his time in Cleveland, it was LeBron and everybody else.
Yeah.
And when it was LeBronto, he was never passing that ball he banked in for a game winner in Toronto.
Yeah.
That was never going to be a pass. And I want that out of Donovan Mitchell. And we talked about this in the bubble last year. I don't care if all 5 guys are guarding Donovan Mitchell. Please drive and shoot or kick or whatever.
Yeah.
Every single possession in this game tonight that Don's on the floor, he needs to touch the ball. Hey, even if that's just in the backcourt or if he comes up and kicks to the wing, great. Run through, shoot a 3.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Donovan Mitchell needs to touch the ball every freaking possession because when he doesn't, usually it's Jordan Clarkson dribbling around, run through the paint, turn around, take a shot, and not know that the ball should be moving. This team operates best through Donovan Mitchell. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Good morning to everybody. The comment section is lit. Cody Strickland says, morning, guys. Suns killing the MVP. By the way, your video is acting up.
What does that mean?
It took me a few restarts to get on, but you might be working. Okay.
Huh.
I'm sorry if you
Let us
had
know if that
technical
continues.
problems. Bro, today has been a deal of just technical issues. I don't know if it's the wind here in Utah because it's a wind tunnel this morning. I don't know if it's just that finally the gods are pissed that we keep saying Jesus is our point guard. I'm not sure why they are giving me all the bugs today. Probably because I'm not working and I'm going to Vegas and I probably don't deserve any good things in my life. But the point really is that we've had some gremlins this morning. So, good luck. Yeah, good luck. If the video's not working, watch the replay. I don't know, man. Cody says Shaq said last game was our best. LOL. He doesn't watch basketball like you two. Exactly right. Mina Grace says, good evening from the Philippines. What's up?
What up?
Good to see you guys in the Philippines. Cody Strickland also says, Don going to drop 40 tonight and Bogey will have 24. It'll be a 10-point win if that's the case.
Yeah.
I mean, if he does that again, it's over.
I think that – so here's the thing. If Don scores 40, I'm not going to sit here and say that the game's over. It has to be Don getting his plus one other person.
Well, if Bogey scores 25.
If Bogey's got 25, yeah, then you're probably winning by 10 points. But here's the thing. I also think that coming out of game one, and this is something that I would really like Jazz fans to be open-minded about, coming out of game one, the Clippers also did not shoot the ball well. So you figure that, okay, like I said yesterday, both of these teams are going to come back to the middle a little bit. The Jazz are going to make more shots. The Clippers are going to make more shots. The question's going to be who is going to play better defense, or another way to say it is who's going to turn the ball over more, because the Jazz have this bad habit of getting into these 4 to 6 minute stretches where they just turn the ball over constantly, and then they work themselves out of that, and then they got to run their opposition down. Now, luckily, last series, that's the Memphis Grizzlies who have nothing to offer, But against the Clippers, I just feel like, first thing is you can't turn it over more than 10 times in this game and expect to win.
Correct.
Secondly, Donovan cannot be in foul trouble on any level, which I don't think he will be, but that's always something you want to monitor.
But not to interrupt you, that's one of the things that makes him elite.
Yeah.
Is Donovan Mitchell is a wildly intelligent player.
Yeah.
Who doesn't make the mistake that a simp like Reggie Jackson made.
Austin Rivers.
Yeah. Exactly right. Donovan Mitchell operates at a very high mental level.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge nod to him.
Yep.
Ilert Gnick, good morning to you. He says, if Conley is playing, Utah wins. If not, we lose.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
That point did not come through in game one.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. Does Mike Conley take them to another level? Absolutely.
Yes.
100% he does. But without him, it's not as bad as not having Don.
But does it take... Oh, come on. I mean, that's absolutely true.
But I say that because they've seen both, They've had to experience both positions.
Here's, I guess, my question. If you don't play Mike Conley, it forces Donovan Mitchell 45 from 45. It forces him into a huge game.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah, you're Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Right? It forces him into those huge performances.
Yeah.
And he's capable of that. That's what the postseason's about.
And he wants it. Let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah.
He wants the moment.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no question about it. I think that in terms of beating as you progress through the playoffs. It's not going to be good enough for this team to rely on Don for 40 every night. I mean, that's just not going to be a realistic solution to winning a championship.
No, I would agree with that. Mitchell Harding, what's up? Good morning to you. Clippers will make mistakes. Their lack of chemistry makes it inevitable.
Yeah.
I think one of the things we saw out of that, and I think that's a very good point, Mitch. I think one of the things we saw very clearly was the coverage on switches. That minivan hitting a three, George Niang. Hitting a three the other night when Paul George just threw his hands up, like looking at, and I don't remember, was that Zubats? I can't remember who it was. Not stepping out on the pick and roll.
But he didn't step out all night.
No. But by the way, can we please get some pick and roll action in the first 5 minutes of the game? Like, it's really
Leads
surprising.
to great things.
It's really surprising they did not really go all in on the pick and roll, the Jazz, until the second half. Because I thought that's what changed the game. Is the Clippers just did not answer the pick and roll. They never adjusted to that. And I think part of that was, hey, 7-game series, we traveled, we're not at home. Well, now you've had a day off, and all they did was shoot and watch film yesterday. They did not practice.
Yep.
So the Clippers should be well rested. And Kawhi talked about this post game the other night. He said, we really just need to get some rest, and we'll be fine. Which, by the way, thank you for throwing that sound. That was actually Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, that was from those.
Yeah, but Kawhi talked the other night about how they just need some rest. They just need some time. That one day off really gives you an adjustment period. And frankly, and I know a lot of people on the show yesterday were torching Ty Lue, but I'm telling you that Ty Lue has done a really good job with this team. The in-game, in-series, game-to-game adjustments he made against Dallas very clearly show you that. I think the DeMarcus Cousins 3 minutes of excellence the other night shows you that Ty Lue understands the depth of his talent and how to use it. So don't just write the Clippers off in this series. I think that'd be a huge mistake. Dinky Dinkelman. I want to see your birth certificate.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Dinky, I need to see a birth certificate. He says, new to the show, and you guys are great, keeping me entertained at work. Phoenix looked really strong last night, defense and offense. Ayton and Paul playing well together. DeAndre Ayton it's shocking his development offensively in this series. The ability, my main criticism of DeAndre Ayton has been that he is incredibly soft.
Yeah. That
he doesn't want to, he's not a killer, right? He's not a guy that wants to.
Dude, he's doing a pregame interview yesterday on NBA on TNT where he's talking about how him and Jokic are friends on the floor. I mean, you're talking about a guy who does not have mean intent.
No. And all of a sudden, DeAndre Ayton this series has gone out to prove a point. And I love that.
Yeah.
And attacking the rim, dunking. Now, he continues to not catch the ball well. And I don't know, again, I don't know how you're a 7-footer in this league and you can't catch the ball. But DeAndre Ayton, I think, while he has continued to struggle defensively at times in this series, he has really been a difference maker.
Yeah.
The pick and roll, the lobs.
The jumper.
The jumper, the effort. From DeAndre Ayton has been nothing short of spectacular. So, Dinky, I think you're right that aren't we all here for Jazz Suns Western Conference Finals?
Hell yeah!
That's
what we want. I don't want to see.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Pandemic P in the Western Conference Finals, dude. Wow. Get the hell out of here. Like, I don't want to have to talk about, the Clippers' chemistry didn't come together and the Jazz had an easy, or the Suns had an easy win.
There is nothing likable about the Clippers.
There's nothing. What do I have to hang on to?
Nothing.
Well, I've got Paul George, and playing with his shoes untied. I've got Kawhi Leonard, who is a nothing personality-wise.
You've got Steve Ballmer's huge testicles in his
dude, put on some pants that actually fit, guy.
You're a billionaire.
Got you out of your routine today, but I'm proud to be here with you.
Yeah, we get it, Steve. We get it. You're on the sideline being a cheerleader.
Yeah,
we get it, dude.
Come on, bro. Are you really telling me that Steve Ballmer can't afford khakis that fit?
We're only here for one reason.
Yeah, do something about that, bro. He's the awkward Steve Ballmer, the billionaire owner of the Clippers.
Yeah.
He's just awkward, bro.
That's quite enough. We get it.
Yeah, do you have to sit baseline? You can afford a suite.
What's wrong with you?
Right? Maybe don't travel on the road. Right? Well, this is a family city. We don't need to see your large cantaloupes just on full display in your cheap hotel pants.
I don't give a baker's fuck.
Probably stop talking about his anatomy and stuff.
Anatomy.
Wow. Mina Gray says the Bucks' only focus is to beat the Heat. Well, the problem is the Bucks should probably focus on the Nets.
Yeah. It's just the Nets.
There's
nothing
why
to
did
talk
they get
about,
an
dude.
extra day off,
Bro, there's nothing to talk about. Like the Nets are. This series should show you that even without Harden, the Nets have just superior firepower to you. And the thing is that even if you have elite defense all around the floor, Rudy being in the paint isn't stopping KD from knocking down the 30-footer. Like Rudy, like I just look at a potential Jazz Nets lineup and I'm just like, dude, like whether it's Kyrie, whether it's Joe Harris, whether it's the slurpification of Mike James, whether it's KD or his mom or whatever, dude, like those guys are just better. And so I think for a championship matchup, yeah, I'd love to see Jazz versus Nets because I think the Jazz actually shoot it at a high enough rate that they could keep up with the Nets. And that to me would be like the Nets are the only team that I feel like can push the Jazz to the brink. Like the Nets can legitimately say, okay, we're definitely better than you. And the only way you're going to stay in this series is by shooting 50% from three the entire series. That's the only way they stay in it.
Yeah, I think the Nets are elite for a lot of different reasons. Look, how do I even... Giannis Antetokounmpo's a fraud. I mean, I just...
Straight up.
Like, Rudy Gobert won his third Defensive Player of the Year award yesterday. And deservedly so, in a runaway. By the way, whoever the a-holes were that voted him third, do you watch basketball? We don't. I mean, we know that. But do you watch? You voted Rudy Gobert the third best defensive player in the league.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? I want to find those people and shake them and be like, dude, what?
How is that even possible?
Yeah, like, what are you talking about? Anyway, the point is, I think, first of all, please let's not get way ahead of ourselves and start talking about a lot of Jazz fans tweeting at me yesterday talking about how they're going to the NBA Finals. Bro, you've got, what is that? 3 more wins here,
7
4
more
more wins in the conference finals. You got 5 more wins to get to the NBA Finals. Let's slow our roll a little bit. Those are going to be 5 of the most difficult
you have
wins.
7.
What do you? Oh, 7 more wins. Excuse me.
7.
7 more wins to get to the NBA Finals, and then after that, it's 11 more to win an NBA championship. You're going to have to go through the Clippers, the Suns, and probably the Nets. The percentages are not in your favor.
Yeah.
Second of all, Giannis Antetokounmpo is a fraud. I'm telling you, he's a great defensive player. But you're looking at a situation where the Brooklyn Nets just don't respect him.
No.
And they're willing to put him on the line. He almost shot an air ball in game 2 from the free throw line. They're willing to put him on the line. They leave him open from 3. And the funny thing is, it's almost like the summer solstice and the dances with wolves when he hits a 3. Everybody rejoices. We burn sage and talk about how, Giannis has exercised his demons. Get out of it. The guy's not a 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
He's not a mid-range shooter.
Yeah.
The problem is he's a dunker.
He's not a shooter at all.
And with all due respect to Blake Griffin, who's dunking on everybody, when Blake Griffin is limiting you, you have an issue. And it's cool. He's the guy that fills up the stat sheet.
Yep.
That, in my opinion, costs you a game.
He is not a winning basketball player.
He absolutely will cost you a game because you cannot give him the ball. And maybe this is where we transition into Rudy Gobert's true value.
Yeah.
Because when I can't give you the basketball in the last 5 minutes, and most of the game, in game 1, you will have to admit, especially in the first half, the Jazz were playing 4-on-5 offensively.
Yeah, was Rudy even on the floor?
Well, all that mattered was Rudy was on the floor in the last 3 seconds of the game.
Yeah, that's all anybody gives a damn about.
That's all that mattered because he blocked that shot in the corner and you won game 1.
I'm telling you that's not all that matters.
Well, I'm telling you it's not all that matters as well. Because when we talk about Don and everybody else and Donovan Mitchell, the pressure, the weight, that is on Donovan Mitchell to score 45 for 45.
You hate that.
I hate that. It'd be nice if it was, hey, 45 scored 30 and Rudy had 27 and Bogey had 18 and Joe hit 5 threes and your mom's still hot.
Cold-blooded, clean, methodical, and thorough.
That'd be awesome. But it's not.
Right.
And it's 10 points and 12 boards and it's complaining to the officials. And so my question is, this is a guy that's won his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year award.
Right.
What is Rudy Gobert's highest, best use for this team?
What we're seeing now. I mean, that's his highest and best use. Until he develops an individual offensive game, this is what he can do. Because at the end of the day, the growth opportunity is not defensively. He understands how to play defense. I mean, I think that's about as obvious as anything we ever talk about on this show. The guy knows how to play defense. The fact is that when you're on offense and you're playing 4-on-5, and Rudy comes up to set a pick, Joe Ingles, and Joe doesn't even look at him as an option, that's a problem.
Didn't look at him. Rudy might as well not have been there.
Yeah, so that's why I say, like, Rudy, this is why the DeAndre Ayton development is so crucial for the Suns, because DeAndre can make the jumper, he can set pretty good picks, he rebounds the hell out of the ball, and no, he's not the best, he's not as good of a defender as Rudy, but the thing is I'd rather have a guy, frankly, in my organization who maybe isn't the Defensive Player of the Year, but is absolutely a killer on the offensive end. I mean, that's what today's league dictates. And so, when Rudy gets all pissed off when he's trying to go up and he doesn't get the call, well, of course you're not going to get the call, guy. You're not an offensive player. You're a guy trying to be an offensive player. So you don't have the respect of the officials on that end of the floor.
Yeah, I think that Rudy is a spectacular defender. I mean, he brings tremendous value to this Jazz team as long as they're shooting the ball well. Rudy becomes that liability when they're not shooting the ball well, and he's not getting those 20 rebounds a night, right? And the ultimate, value proposition for Rudy Gobert, and when it becomes very clear, is when the Jazz shoot 29 to 30% from 3, like in the first half the other night.
Yeah.
And he's not getting rebounds.
That was surprising, dude.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Like, he was out of position a lot.
Because you're not throwing him the ball. And this is the Joe Ingles point you just made is really critical. Because what I think is, even if he doesn't score, throw Rudy the ball over the top of that screen. Just to keep the Clippers honest.
Yeah.
So that you cannot put Patrick Beverley the other night on 2 possessions guarding Rudy Gobert. Just throw him the ball over the top of the screen.
Yeah.
They tried it one time, and it was awkward. Rudy was on the far side of the basket, and they tried to throw that lob up, and Kawhi intercepted it. But on a pick and roll, I just one time want to see them throw the ball over the top to Rudy.
Yeah.
Not for a lob.
That's an adjustment that'll be made. Like, that's an adjustment that'll be made. Hey, set the pick, and then give him the soft touch pass. Oh, to like what you were just motioning, right, to his hands. So, I mean, that's something that I think we're going to see. But the problem is the problem is that okay, let's say you do complete the pass. There's no telling that he's actually going to be able to complete the play because he has 0 touch around the rim.
Yeah,
and that's where I say, I love him for his defense, but Again, I can honestly say, genuinely, sincerely, I would not have Rudy Gobert on my team. I wouldn't. I would rather have DeAndre Ayton. I would rather have Jokic, certainly. I'd rather have Embiid.
I'd rather go offense.
Yeah.
I think in this day and age, in this system, especially for the Jazz, he has become the guy that you rely on to play defense. And I think that becomes much of a detriment. Because the other night, let's be real honest. Let's be brutally honest about game 1. 45 for 45, and we're the main. What if Kawhi is making that mid-range that was wide open all night?
The Morris play doesn't happen.
They win the game. The Clippers win the game.
Yeah.
Mike Conley's playing tonight.
Yeah.
You
won by 3 points.
You're
dude.
in a different place. If Kawhi Leonard is making the mid-range that he shoots at a very high level on the regular, and you could see he didn't have the lift and he was short. Everything was front rim. If that mid-range goes in, that's a problem. And the reason I bring that up is you don't have a way to stop that because the pick and roll game from the Clippers is mediocre at best. But you don't have to be a stellar pick and roll team for Kawhi Leonard to crush your opponent on the mid-range.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me so much. And I know that we talked about this a lot in the Memphis series, but one of the things you can watch for tonight, one of the keys to this game, will be that Kawhi Leonard mid-range jumper. Because he's not going to continue to miss that jumper. I'm telling you.
He's what stirs the drink, bro.
And that mid-range stirs the drink.
Yeah.
I have no idea what Paul George is going to give you, frankly, because I think Paul George, if Giannis is a fraud, what is Paul George? Paul George is another guy, I had 20 and 10, and you were meaningless in that game. He hit a couple of threes in the fourth quarter that were significant.
Nice game, but you weren't. The thing I want to say to Paul is it wasn't meaningful, dude. Like you didn't you filled up the stat sheet. You had 20 and 10, great, but at the same time, it's what I always say. Again, I hate to bash on Rudy, but cool, you had 20 and 10. You lost the damn game. Who cares? Like you at one point, I'm not even joking, dude. Go find it. At one point, he was in the game with his shoes untied. What are we doing? Like what?
Yeah. How about Paul George? Stop. Like this guy, the playoff P thing is so stupid. And if you don't know,
he brought it on himself.
He named himself Playoff P. But the other part of this is Joe Ingles is not dominating Paul George. Paul George, and here's the other key to this game tonight. And Jazz fans, I would implore you to watch this closely. How many open jumpers are the Clippers going to get? Because Paul George missed a bunch of threes that were not contested. This was the Jazz. And the funny thing about this game the other night, did you notice how the script flipped? So Donovan comes out. They have the huge typical Jazz third quarter where they just own the Clippers.
The rack attack!
But in the first half, the Jazz couldn't hit water from a boat.
Yep.
Even on open jumpers. In the second half, the Jazz hit all their open jumpers. In the second half, the Clippers couldn't make an open jumper. And what does that tell you? Well, the altitude and the home court advantage got to the Clippers. Although I thought it was interesting, the Clippers after the game all were talking about how jacked it was in the building, and it was nice because they haven't played in that environment in over a year. But the altitude certainly got to them. And I think that's an interesting adjustment. Some of the Clipper media folks were talking about how much cardio the Clippers did yesterday to try and get your lungs broken into that. It's very interesting. The guys that train at the level of a Kawhi Leonard understand that you have to go and push your body on your off day when you're playing at altitude. So all of that to say, how many open jumpers are the Clippers making? And watch this as well. How many of the Clippers are defending above the three-point line?
Many.
Right?
Many.
Because, and we saw this with Luke Kennard, another thing to watch tonight. How much Luke Kennard do we get? And do we see Luke Kennard on the pick and roll?
Listen,
or are we going to see more Patrick Beverley?
I think you're going to see mostly the same lineup. I legitimately think you're going to see most of the same lineup.
You really do?
Yes, I do, because I don't think that they have a ton to change. I don't think that they got to go and make sweeping lineup adjustments.
I think the Clippers cannot afford Luke Kennard's poor defense.
Right.
You
but
cannot have that.
It's not that you need to take him off the floor because he earned his time by making the shots. He needs to just simply play better defense. He needs to be more mentally engaged defensively.
I just think Luke Kennard, the Jazz are going to target him and attack him. And I think they did a masterful job of it the other night in the pick and roll with switching Don on him. My question is, when do the Clippers stop switching the screen and roll? Because you're
Why
either
would they
going to
stop switching it?
Well, because as they did against the Mavericks, they stopped switching that, and largely what you got was the only guys switching were Batum and Kawhi, because those two guys are probably their two best defensive players outside of Paul George, who I think is a stellar defender as well.
Yeah.
The problem is that when you have Kawhi and Batum at the top, you can switch that because they're pretty equal pick and roll defenders.
Uh-huh.
But when do you make the adjustment they made in the Dallas series, which was putting a leash on Donovan Mitchell in this case by locking Kawhi onto him?
Yeah,
I think
you're
you're
probably
going to
make
see
that
that
adjustment soon. Yeah.
I think you're going to see that. And then the question is, how hard does Donovan have to work on defense? You have to, if you're the Clippers, do what you did in the first half for 4 quarters, which is attack Rudy Gobert, attack Donovan Mitchell, force the officials to blow the whistle.
Yes.
Because the Clippers did not do that for 4 quarters the other night, and it cost them.
And that's how you win on the road. You get the Jazz into foul trouble.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if the Clippers didn't come out with a huge burst of energy in the first and third.
Yeah.
Because what's the best way to describe this? They talked about going to sleep at halftime. Mm-hmm. That they went in with a 13-point lead, and I want to say it was Paul George who said they were disappointed to only be up 13.
Yeah, they came out flat in the second half.
The analytics said they should have been up 21.
Yep.
They said they went into the locker room and they essentially went to sleep. They took a nap at halftime, and they never woke up.
Yeah.
And I think you saw that. And man, Donovan Mitchell just came out in the third quarter and was unstoppable.
Yeah, but it goes both ways, though. It goes both ways. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is not LeBron. He's not, physically, he's not just going to overpower you. And I think that's why I say we can work 100 angles on this series, but the fact is that the Clippers didn't play their best game, and it took the Jazz, damn near playing their best basketball in the second half to win the game.
Well, but I also think the Jazz didn't play their best game, by the way.
Yeah.
Jeremy Bolton, good morning, too. He says, Quinn greater than Lou as far as adjustments go.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Well, I think so, but I would take Quinn Snyder as a better coach over Tyronn Lue. There's no doubt. But what does everybody criticize Quinn Snyder for? Well, timeout execution. Coming out of timeouts, their execution has been poor all year. And I think the question is, if you're the Jazz, do you really make an adjustment coming into this game? I'm not changing a damn thing. Frankly, I thought the issue in the first quarter was they were really hurrying their shots, especially from 3. They were rushing. In the second half, they just got so many open looks that that ball's going to go in. And that's why I think you're going to see a lot more Pat Bev and a lot less Luke Kennard.
Yeah.
I think you're going to, because they need Patrick Beverley's defense.
They need him to be a pest to Donovan Mitchell. I mean, that's...
Well, I think they need him to have a hand up on Bogey. I think they need him to have a hand up. Like you cannot have the mistake they made on George Niang. Mm-hmm. You can't. You can't have, if Patrick Beverley's in the game, you're not turning the ball over like Rajon Rondo did.
Yeah, that was stupid.
That led to those 2 3-pointers that absolutely crushed you going to the half.
Yep.
Right? So I think you're going to see that adjustment. But if I'm the Jazz, I don't do anything differently. I think this team is just... They are in playoff mode. They're kicking ass. When the Jazz are making those back-breaking 3-pointers, that's when you know you're rolling. Jeremy Bolton also says you're right. Kawhi is probably going to light it up, and the Kawhi we all know, and be the Kawhi we all know. But the Jazz aren't going 0 for 21 again. That's never going to happen again. I can't believe the Jazz would ever go 0 for 21 again. I just don't see that happening. Brylark says the Clippers won't play a trash third quarter like they did in Game 1. No, they won't. We'll get our threes going better than in Game 1, Lewis Selder said.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we're all agreeing here. I mean, both teams are going to play better in Game 2 than they played in Game 1, and that's why I think it's going to be even.
Tyler said, Monty, are you feeling okay? You're saying nice things about Quinn Snyder. Well, good to see you, Tyler. Tyler's one of my favorite guys because I know what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
Monty, you always trash the Jazz. Like, are you high today? You're saying good things.
See, now that's just not the way to go here, Karen.
It's really not. It's really not. Ace says, what adjustments can Quinn make? You don't get better than you had in the third and fourth.
That's what you were just saying.
Yeah, I don't think you change much, but you've got that rotation with Rudy. And again, I know everybody's like, oh, defensive player of the year, sliced bread, huge cock. Like, I get it,
okay.
Right? Probably too much. Probably too much. But anyway, the point is, the difference will be that I would have to think that if Rudy Gobert is guarding a 3-point shot with the game on the line, he's going to get a foul. Because Marcus Morris made a huge mistake not jumping into him.
That play's never going to happen, dude.
I don't know that it'll ever happen again.
They're not going to be in that position. That like people think that was like a series defining play. Cool. You made a defensive play that ended the game. I get it, but he's not the reason they won the game, dude. He's not.
James Knight, I'm trying to appeal your comment being blocked. I don't know what you said. So, okay. Mikey says, it doesn't matter how many Rudy scores as long as he blocks as many as he scores. The guy is pivotal. Nobody's saying that Rudy Gobert is not pivotal. Nobody's saying that Rudy Gobert is not an important piece. What I'm saying is that Rudy Gobert, when you're 0 for 21, Rudy Gobert is not going to make you 1 for 22. He's not a guy that you can count on to get you a basket. And that's the issue. All elite teams that rely on the shot, that rely on threes, go 0 for 21 at some point. The best of the best, though, let it happen one time, and then it's over with. And I think that's what you saw the Jazz in that first quarter, in that first half, rather. I would be shocked if they ever went 0 for 10 again. Like, this team just shoots the ball so well. And I think the thing that I will just go back to is when the three ball's not going in, you got to attack the paint. You got to go to the rack. And I thought that was one of the surprising things in that first half is nobody was attacking the basket in the first half. And it was very telling that your 0 for 21 was also, I think, at one point 0 for 11 from 2. So it wasn't just the three ball that wasn't going in. You were not getting to the basket. And I think, thankfully, the Clippers are not a high IQ team, or at least weren't the other night. Like, back me up on this, because this was a huge debate on Twitter for the last 2 days. The Clippers committed so many unforced errors.
Yeah, turnovers, fouls. I mean, they just
like Kawhi Leonard body blocking Joe Ingles.
This is why I say, like, again, and I know I'll probably get hated on in the comments, but this was not about this game. Game one was not about the Jazz. It had nothing to do with the Jazz. It had everything to do with the fact that the Clippers essentially gave this game away in the second half. You turned the ball over a bunch. You weren't making shots. You weren't executing. You weren't playing good defense.
Yep.
Like, I'm not. Hear me clearly. I'm not saying the Jazz got lucky, but what I am saying is that you were playing a team that was playing half as good as they should be playing. So that's why I'm saying, like, again, in game two, the Jazz are going to shoot way better. They're going to shoot what they normally do. Now, the question to me simply is how many threes are you going to try and take? Are we going to bump it up to 50?
Yes.
Or are we going to be in the 35-ish range? I mean, that's something that's going to be very curious to me.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see a much better performance out of both sides. And this is game twos like this generally will determine how the series
It's the game
goes.
of the series.
It's
if the Clippers win this series, it's a 7-gamer. If they lose this series, it could be a 5 or 6.
Yeah,
honestly.
if they lose this game tonight, I think the potential for everybody who said this was a 5-gamer. You could potentially be right if the Clippers lose this game tonight.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Illert Gannick says Clarkson. Wow, comment dumb. Illert Gannick says Clarkson should also stop that 20 shot attempts every damn game. He shoots too much.
Yeah,
but how are you going to?
That's his job.
Yeah, I mean that's what the guy is.
What are you going to tell him? Hey, you became the 6th man of the year by not shooting. I mean, all is one job in life is to put the ball through the hole.
Yep.
That's it.
Jeremy Bolton says play more Beverly on Mitchell. I'll take that matchup all day. Well,
I don't think you'll take that matchup all day, to be honest with you.
And I was going to say, you're not going to guard Donovan Mitchell one-on-one because you're not going to stop him. Nobody is stopping Donovan Mitchell one-on-one. I don't care who you put on him. But what Patrick Beverly does is draws that frustration foul out of Rudy Gobert. When he took the ball out of Rudy's hands on that pass into the post, Rudy turned, and again, it's fundamentals, but Rudy tends to hold the ball low because he's not an offensive mind. He holds the ball low at his chest or waist. Patrick Beverly ran under him and took the ball right out of his hands. And Rudy commits a foul. Like, that's what Patrick Beverly does. When Pat Bev is on the floor, guys like Bojan Bogdanovic, they get frustrated. That's his job. The problem for the Clippers is Patrick Beverly will shoot a 3 out of sequence. And it frustrates people. And it's why Tyronn Lue does not trust Patrick Beverly, because generally he will make a mistake that will swing momentum. And if you're in Salt Lake City, if you're the Clippers playing at Vivint, you can't allow the momentum to go to the Jazz at all.
You can't have that turnover inbounding the ball. You can't have dumb threes.
You can't throw the ball three-quarter court against an elite, defender like Royce O'Neal.
Yeah.
You're not that
stupid,
pass is not going to be completed. Right? Like it just the Clippers made a lot of unforced errors. Seal and Sand said Bogey will post up and kill Beverly. I don't think that you're going to look for a Beverly-Bogey matchup. There would be that just
Morris
makes no sense.
will be on Bogey.
Yeah, when you have size like Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, the Nick Batum, the guy that makes a difference on the block is going to be Derek Favors. Derek Favors very quietly made some critical plays the other night that kept momentum working. When Rudy was in foul trouble, Faves came in, blocked a couple shots, like kept that momentum. You didn't have a fall off when Rudy was out and Faves was in. I thought Derek Favors played a real critical role in game one, and it'll be interesting to see what he does in game two. Brylark says, again, like I said earlier, this is going to be a close game. Dad, will you guys stop commenting so much? Jeez. 5-point differential max. Do not be surprised if the Jazz drop this one. I think this is going to be the most difficult game that they will face to date in the postseason.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think this is going to be a really difficult game for both teams. Christopher Thompson, good morning, says, of course Rudy wasn't the reason they won. It is a team effort game. The only person I know that could beat you on his own was the GOAT, MJ. Well, ask Brian Russell about that. Cody Strickland, it was the curse of the second bad game after a long rest. Like I told you guys, difference is that Don said, no, we are not going to lose today. Well, look, I mean, I love that people keep throwing that. We're not losing today. Okay, cool.
Cool, dude.
Donovan Mitchell played well.
The fact is Donovan Mitchell is not good enough on his own to carry you to where you want to go.
There's not many guys in this league that are.
There are 2 people on the planet. 3 people on the planet that can do it, and that's LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Stephen Curry.
And I don't think LeBron showed us injured LeBron is not good enough to do that.
Yeah.
I think
number 6 LeBron is going to be.
What a selfish SOB. Like, no, I'm not getting into the number change thing. Anyway, my point is, there are a few guys who can do that. I think Kevin Durant, and then it's arguable anybody else. Kevin Durant can beat you on his own. I think at this point, with the way, especially against a really good defensive team like the Clippers, it's going to be hard for Donovan to repeat that performance. You're going to need other guys to step up and score the basketball, especially in crunch time. Let's see. Dinky Dinkelman.
Amazing name, dude.
There has got to be a reason why Beverly has only played 5 to 10 minutes a game so far in the playoffs. Yeah, Ty Lue doesn't trust him.
Yeah.
And it's been much talked about. Patrick Beverly played some awful basketball at the end of the year. Early in that Mavericks series, he was not very good. That's why Luke Kennard's gotten run. Look at DeMarcus Cousins. Did not play a solitary second of the Mavericks series. Comes in and gives you an effective couple of minutes, a couple of blocks, good rebounds, shot a 3, got a layup. That's why the Clippers are good. And everybody writes them off, but you can put any one of their guys on the floor and they're going to contribute in a short stretch.
Yeah.
The elite teams have guys that can contribute in a long stretch. And that's why you have Paul George. Look at what Zubats did. And again, this points to the Jazz struggling against quality bigs. Zubats isn't even, I would say he's good. He's certainly not great.
Yeah.
Bunch of block shots, bunch of rebounds, like bunch of offense, got to the line, drew fouls. Like, the pain is a problem for the Jazz. Just keep an eye on that. Again, that's what worries me about the Brooklyn Nets. If we get to the Phoenix Suns, what worries me about the Phoenix Suns? Elite mid-range team.
Yeah.
Elite.
Yep.
And what is Devin Booker talking about the other night? Oh, I know where Bridges is going to be.
Yep.
They're a team that lives on the driving kick.
Their chemistry is elite.
It's and the thing that is amazing to me is this shoulder with Chris Paul. I mean, he played an unbelievable game last night.
Yeah, I think he's learning how to play with it. I think he's starting to understand like what he's got to do to manage it and allow himself to be what he needs to be on the floor. And again, that's the beautiful thing. See, this is the beautiful thing about what the Suns have, and I think that's why it's dangerous to the Jazz, which is they have this chemistry that you can't replicate, you can't teach it. It just is there because they've struggled and they fought through the bubble and they've done all this stuff together. And you add a guy like Chris Paul to that mix, and all of a sudden, it's good. Everything's fine. You know, he makes the right pass, play at the right time. Book's three-point shot is finally going down now, which means his mid-range is going to be filthy. Like, everything's good if you're a Suns fan right now. But I'm telling you, if you're a Jazz fan, don't just write off the Clippers. Let's see what happens in Game 2. If you're 2-0 going to LA, okay, then you can feel pretty good about the series.
Yes.
But I think we still need to play this game.
Let's see. Jeremy Bolton says, let's hate on LeBron rather than Rudy. Nobody's hating on Rudy.
Yeah, the difference is LeBron has rings.
Truth. Jeremy Bolton also says Durant couldn't do it with Westbrook. Okay, so we're talking about one player that can carry a team on his own.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that Westbrook shoots in volume, right? And the reason that you had Durant leave OKC was to get away from Westbrook.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook's not the guy you want to be teammates with. He's not. And I think you're seeing that a guy like Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, who else gets shots on that team?
Notice who's sitting at home and who's not.
Yeah. Kevin Durant is a guy that I think he's the best scorer in the NBA. I think he is when he's playing the way Kevin Durant's playing now, he is a generational talent.
Yeah.
When he stays healthy, and he's had major injuries in his career now, whether it's the Liz Frank foot injury, the Achilles, the hamstring, like he's had big injuries now. But when he is healthy, Kevin Durant is, I think, the best player in the NBA. And when you want to talk about guys that can do it on their own, I'm taking Kevin Durant over Donovan Mitchell 5 times every day. You can ask me 100 times. I'm going to take Kevin Durant over Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And it is simply a matter of ability, finishing, touch, size, athleticism. I mean, Kevin Durant gives you everything. He can defend 5 positions on the it's unbelievable to look at him. And if you think back to those series, look how far the Warriors fell without Kevin Durant. Right? Like they were in a fight of their lives, even with Klay Thompson. Klay does the knee. Now it's over, because I've always said Steph Curry to me is not the guy that can carry a team on his own. Right? Now, Steph may be the face of the NBA, and I think there's a lot of people who would say that, but that's all well and good. Kevin Durant's a better player than Steph Curry. Kevin Durant, I'm telling you right now today, here on June 10th, he certainly is the best player, the best player still going.
Yeah.
He's the best player in the NBA right now. Playing at this level.
And he's playing some of the best basketball in his career, injuries or not.
It's unbelievable the way he's playing.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who almost dropped Giannis, dude. Like, I mean, this is, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
By the way, that's not his first time messing around with Giannis, by the way, either. I'd like to point that out.
Not at all. Like he is, anyway. Sean Mierzinski, good morning to you. Anybody that is confident that you're going to win a series after one game where the losing team only lost by a basket is crazy. That's what we've been saying. KD just hasn't shown it. Logically, he can, AK says. He absolutely can. Cody Strickland says, I think the Suns and Jazz by far have the best playoff-themed stadiums in the league.
Oh, man, dude.
I am shocked. And I've spent a lot of time in Phoenix. I am a guy that supports the Suns. You know that on this show on a regular basis, I fillet Devin Booker.
Slurp juice, man.
Slurpification,
Slurp
brother. I'm stunned that arena is as lit as it is. The Phoenix Suns actually, I'm not sure I can say this and not lose all credibility. The Phoenix Suns have a home court advantage. It's shocking.
Yeah.
That is a transient
that building
market.
Was packed.
Yeah, but you know this.
Yeah.
That the Phoenix sports market, for those of you who haven't lived there and experienced, when the Cubs come to town, it's a Cub town. When the Yankees come to town, it's a Yankee town.
I think
Knicks, whoever, it's their town. You're seeing now that Suns arena, it rebuilt, renovated, beautiful arena now, packed to the gills. Now, you had probably 60-40 Suns-Lakers fans in that series. It's all Suns fans in this Denver series.
I think the Suns have done a great job capturing the younger generation, and I think that's why the building is full.
Ooh.
There's a lot of kids there. There's a lot of young people in that building, and I think that is why it's so raucous. You know, I think, you know, Phoenix is a place, like you were just saying, where there's a lot of new people. The California effect is definitely happening in Phoenix, big time.
Yes.
And I think that, you know,
and the snowbirds, by the way, are gone.
Yeah, I mean,
the snowbirds are not in Phoenix.
Yeah,
right now.
It's not. It's legit. I mean, the people that are going to these games are Phoenix residents. I mean, these are people that are following these teams, and I just think that it's finally nice to see the Phoenix sports market have some good sports. Like,
now, it's unfortunate the Diamondbacks are a putrid, terrible, awful.
Yeah,
team.
they might as well just go back to AAA. I mean, I don't really know what we're doing on the baseball diamond, but.
And the Yotes fired Rick Tocchet. How did that work out? And now you have the Suns, who are probably going to the Western Conference Finals. and you have the Arizona Cardinals that are going to compete for that division. Phoenix is going to change. When the NFL wins and the NBA wins in a market, those markets tend to change.
Yeah.
Jeremy Bolton says Mike James plus Kennard equal championship. Oh, you laugh. You laugh. I kid. I love Mike James has given them huge minutes, man.
Yep.
I'm telling you.